This video we're going to go over services. We're going to find out how we're going to scan for services, know how to disable or enable a service, and if a service is installed on the computer, know what the service is doing at that time. So first we're going to find out how we're going to scan for services on a computer. And in Ubuntu, the way we do that is using the command nmap. Nmap in Ubuntu scans the entire computer and also the local internet to see if any ports are open, such as port 22, which is for SSH. So the way we do that is open terminal, Control-Alt-T, we go into sudo, then from here we have to install the program nmap. So we do apt-get install nmap, network map for short. So we let that install. Now, once it's installed, there are two things you can do to scan the computer. The first thing we'll go over is nmap. That's how you start the command. And then the next part will be what you want to scan. It can be an IP address, a host name, a domain name, or your localhost. First, we're going to scan localhost. What this does, it scans your entire internet, not just your computer, but your internet in whole, to see if any ports are open going through your internet. So if we hit enter, we'll start the scan, and we can see on the entire internet we have port 21, which is open FTP, 22, which is open SSH, 80, which is open HTTP, and 631, which is open called IPP. Now the difference here, if we do nmap and we do our IP, now the IP of this computer is 10.0.2.15. Alright, now quickly to show you how we find the IP of a computer, open another terminal, type in ifconfig, and the first one will be your IP. Now, if we do nmap, then the IP, which is also the host machine, you'll see the difference is on localhost, there was a port open 631 that had IPP. When we scanned our host machine, 631 was not there, it was just the first three. The reason for that is because localhost, again, is your internet, and the IP we put was this host machine. So these are the ports that are more important to us, the ones that if we don't need them, we're going to disable them. Next, I'm going to show you how you're going to know what these services are doing. So how do I know what SSH is doing? Is it on? Is it off? Is it accepting connection, or is it denying connections? So the next command we're going to go over is Netstat. Netstat allows us to see what the services are doing on the computer at the current time we type in the command. So the way we do that is netstat -tuln. With the tuln, n is optional. So I'm going to quickly go over what each of them mean. T means TCP port, so any services running on TCP. U stands for UDP, so any services running on UDP. L will stand for the listening state. Now there are multiple states I'll go over, telling us what the service is doing at that time. And now N is for number. So if I use Netstat without the N, it gives us the protocol the service is on, what it's called, and what state it's in. So we can see SSH is running on TCP, also up here. There's also TPC6 and TCP normal for IPv6 and IPv4. So we see that SSH is running, and it's in listening state. Now if I do it with the N, instead of giving us the name, such as SSH, it'll give us the port number. The port number for SSH is 22. So here we have, it's running on TCP, running on the default route on port 22, also known as SSH, and it's listening. So the reason we use N in -tuln is because without N, it gives us the names. But the way it gets the names is through a file called /etc/services. This is where, if we don't use the N in -tuln, this is where it will get the name. So here we have SSH as 22. Now, if I wanted to change that, right? Let's say I wanted to poison this file and throw off someone looking through the Netstat command. I want to change the 22 port to a different name called not SSH. Alright, so we save that file, and this time we do -tul. Port 22 is now known as not SSH. That is why if you do N, you can actually see the port number and say this is clearly SSH, because without using the N, it doesn't tell us what the port number is, and we get thrown off saying not SSH. So you always want to try using N, so you're always sure what service is running. Now for the states, there are 4 states you should know. The main one is listen, right? That's where the L comes in. It tells us these are the listening ports. Listen means that it's accepting connections from outside and inside. Now, if it says established, established means it's actively being used and passing data. So someone using SSH is already connected to the computer and using the computer through SSH. Closed means it's turned off, the service is turned off and it's not being used. Closing means it's being shut down and it's in the process of turning off. Now, the next thing we'll go over is disabling services or enabling services, and knowing every service that's on the computer without using nmap or Netstat. The thing that makes this command different from nmap and Netstat is this command shows you all the ports, even if they're off or on. Nmap and Netstat will show you only port numbers, the protocol, and if it's on or off. The command is called systemctl list-units-type service. So we're telling the terminal to look through the system with anything that is a service. So we click enter. So these are all the services that have started at boot and are actively running, or have stopped, but they can become active. So if we look through, we see that we have Apache, which is our web server, or port 80. We have, scroll down a little more, we have our SSH service, which is the port 22 we just did, and UFW, which is our firewall, and VSFTPD, which is the FTP server, or port 21. This command also gives a little more information telling us what it is. So if we go down to the FTP server, it will tell us that it is called this, and it's an FTP server. Same with the SSH service, it's a secure shell server, and with the Apache service, it's a web server. So it gives us the details of what it is. If it's running or exited, running means it's on, currently accepting connections. Exited means it's not on, but it is on standby. Active means that it is already loaded. It was loaded at startup. So you can use systemctl to give you more descriptions on what a service is. Let's add in nmap, and I found out there's an FTP server running on the computer. And I use systemctl to find out what the name of the FTP server is, which is VSFTPD. Now, I don't want to uninstall it, I just want to disable it for the time being. So systemctl is also a way to disable or enable services. So if we do systemctl disable, and then we put in the name, which is vsftpd.service, and click enter. Now it says that it is disabled and it won't be running on the computer. If we want to enable it again, we just change disable to enable. And now the service is enabled again. So if I do a systemctl list services, it now says that it's loaded, active, and running. So a quick rundown: nmap is a way to scan the system and the local internet to see if anything is running. And if you find out something is running, you can use netstat to see what is running. And remember, there are 4 letters you should always try to use when using netstat. Always try to use N. Learn your port numbers, because if you don't use N, the SC services file can be poisoned and it can throw you off on what is actually running on the computer. So always try to use N so you're always sure what is running. And you can always use systemctl to disable a service or clarify what type of service or server is running on the system.